Morning. See, it is. Today's the 21st of one of those months in the beginning of a year. You know the name of the name. March. It's equinox, which is not just a human thing. It's a point in the planet's cycle in relation to the sun, and specifically the tilt of the Earth. And it has to do with the temperature system and fertility of the land. And the animals, biosphere, living systems, things like that. Where we've come from is the human animal. And the human animal, apart from eating, fucking, and defending its boundaries and seeking belonging within a family or a tribal network for its sense of self and being, also dreams. And I think the beginning of what we might call religion and art sort of have to do around the same kind of primary things, like the seasonal thing that I just mentioned. We often, or maybe I should claim that for myself, I often sort of think, when we were hairy Neanderthals, or hairier than they are now. I don't think, we've been told that we were a hairy ape, certainly aspects of us might have been, but I reckon that we might have been of much higher in social order and antiquity than our current model would ascribe us. What I'm saying is I think we are a former fallen high civilization, with our internal material, which does seem to be rather miraculous, really. The more the modern science people speak about neurobiology and quantum mind and epigenetics and these latent sort of special abilities of and when I say latent, that means everybody, like base level magic monkey, Hanuman, as it were. So the root of this thing are death, birth, magic stick and cave game, fertility, copulation, phallus, wet cave, great feeling of rupture of plane, of one world to the other, be it flood, famine, or baby, and the cries of childbirth, or the joys of death. Reading interesting old poem from Greek magician philosopher, being broken down and extrapolated upon by this chap called Peter Kingsley, and been reading this book for so long now. It's quite a large book called Reality, and one of the primordial philosophies which they dance around with their metis, their skillful intelligence of wordplay and understanding, is that love will bind the souls into this world and strife will free them. So strife being the liberator, death, horror, pain, anxiety, being things flying apart, trauma, things flying apart, individuating the elemental aspects of the psyche, individuating, creating a soul, creating a vehicle. Whereas love would bring us here and trap us within a illusion. Like Maya, like samsara, this notion. This is old Gnostic, pre-Gnostic sort of notion of the matrix, as it were. The material realm, the sense realm fooling the embodied spirit. That's what we're talking about. So these old philosophers were jiving with these core knowings, and in Empedocles' understanding, the two poles, the polemics of that were represented by Aphrodite, the goddess of sensuality, of eros, of love, of carnal desire and attachment, and Persephone, the goddess who largely was simply called the goddess, rather than by name, because she preferred to be nameless for obvious reasons, because she was the goddess of death, the unknowable, the mystery, the underworld. And we can see that those two states are fundamental to the human experience, of course, life and death, and that they are both represented by different forms of women divinities, which is fitting, I believe, for a material experience at the moment. So these guys, or this guy, him and his cohort Parmenides, they had complicated language systems around being of the world, being in the world but not of it, essentially. And I can kind of see this as definitely, a logical conclusion from some of the primary. They also had this thing about perpetual movement, perpetual energy, perpetual change, and absolute 0 point stillness. They had this thing around the dual nature of those states within the psyche. They had a form of a kind of out-of-body meditation practice they did in caves, lying down, as opposed to the Buddhist sitting or anything. But similar notion of theta state, I would imagine, some kind of deep brain state, and lucid, astral travel, like consciousness leaving the body, and once you know that happens, and I don't really care if you don't believe that happens, because it does, once you know that happens, you realize that this is a spiritual experience we are having of ourselves rather than a material one, and that we've all been hijacked by a form of cult brainwashing in our current system. So in order to have a humanity, in order to have any form of gnosis or embodied wisdom to do with what we really are in the cosmos, and who and where we've really come from as being, whether we're talking non-dual teaching or whether we're talking Graham Hancock, Giza power stations, hydrogen devices, for advanced interstellar civilization, or Palladian channeling, or whatever. I don't mind the narrative, that you come up with. The point is that this is incredible. We are incredible. And there's no substitute for reality. As much as, we can bear it or even comprehend the insanity of what, this above, so below experience of being is. Mind, heart, psyche. So on this autumnal equinox of great purport, great significance at the moment, I believe. Outer planets shifting like they never have for 12,000 years, according to some astrologists, but it's I have a great sense of joy and hope for if strife is undeniable, and yet when a tide rises, the boats also rise. It's probably reasonably important in some instances to pull up your mooring, so your boat doesn't get drowned. Yes, anchors and whatnot. So former realities probably could get overshadowed reasonably quickly. Call that an emotional knowing, or a technological revolution, or all of the above. Expanded consciousness that manifests in many ways, always, and probably more dimensionally than we have traditionally known in the last century. So I'm just echoing back things from deep researchers that I like, but I'm enjoying my time in the studio making my new work, which is a New Zealand artwork from the end of the rainbow, as it were. Okay, top of the morning to you.